All right, very happy to be joined now by the Mayor of Gloucester, Sefatia, Romeo. Yes, I know, recording in progress. Somebody always steps in on me, Madam Mayor. How are you? How you doing?
I'm doing great. You know, the weather was perfect for me this weekend, so I'm grateful because we had a great Sunday and Saturday, and I am so grateful. We had over 2,000 children come up to stage 4, and it was from the visitor center all the way down to by the cupboard, and then the playground was used, everything, every part of stage 4, parking lot, dog park, everywhere was used. It was just an amazing feeling of seeing families out.
My grandchildren were there, and they sent me some pictures on Facebook, and I'm trying to figure out if you were Madam Butterfly or...
Oh yeah, I wish. No, I was Bibbidi Bobbidi Boo. This mayor loves you. Since I've been mayor in 2015, you know how the joke used to be, you know, the godmother, and why are you really the godmother? I was always the fairy godmother. The seniors would always call me the fairy godmother because I got them their health insurance, and I actually saved them a lot of money. Oh, you're like the fairy godmother. I'm going to be able to do something. So I've always wanted to be Bibbidi Bobbidi Boo. And when I finally went to Disney and see really what it costs to go in that shop in Disneyland, yeah, it's magical, all right.
Okay. All right. You know, you've been in office for a while now with many accomplishments, and of course, the occasional detractor. But you know, overall, I wonder if I could ask you about, you know, the state of the city, where you are right now, and maybe why, well, just let's leave it at that, where things are, how you assessing things, like if you gave the city a report card for the last term.
Well, I have to tell you something. You know what? We are now booming. We really are. When pre-COVID, let's start with pre-COVID, we were doing pretty good. You know, every year, you know, we're balancing the budget. We're working closely with the school. We're working on, you know, new schools, infrastructures. We're doing everything. We're moving smoothly. You know, how we're going to put things in priority. And, you know, frustrations, like, you know, like the citizens feel frustration with me. I felt the same thing with the state, saying, why can't we do this? And how come, well, you know, there's no money, you got to wait for chapter 70, chapter 90, you know, we need this, you know, and it was just always the same thing. And then COVID hit, and it was really, I think, an eye-awakener for everyone, because the fact is that no one expected us to be closed for a year. Basically, we were really shut down for a year and not be able to even leave the state. That's never happened in history for me, you know, and just the fact that, you know what, there was lack of food for some people. There was, you know, household items, lack of, it was just horrible. My city thrived. Everyone stepped up, you know, and there was frustrations because, you know, people wanted, we still gave you your tax bill, you know, we still gave you your water bill, and some people still needed, you know, documents in the records department, and you know what, it had to be open, even though the city itself was on hold, but the building and the function still had to continue. When we were here, the city clerks had early voting. Vital records has to be open no matter what. There's no shutdown. And everything else was like, we're all working. And a lot of people couldn't work from home because the fact is they needed the records that were here. We're an old building, and a lot of things still aren't digital. We're working on that, but it stopped. Everything like stopped. And the fact is that, you know, just because we're going doesn't mean the contractors are going. It doesn't mean everything else is going. Look at the kiosks, look at everything else. Now it's taking like longer delay. You know, like a 2x4, which was like, I don't know, $2 is now $8. You know, the same thing when they hear the word city. You know, next thing you know, it's like, oh yeah, we'll come, but it's like 10 times the price, and that's not what we quoted it for. And the same thing, the projects that we're still doing, and DPW still worked. We still did maintenance, but yet we also had to intertwine with the new programs that you had to do with the custodians in the schools, outside, what, you know, what was happening, police, fire. I mean, it was, you know what, it was every day, it was a new rule. Yeah, DESI saying one thing, state saying another, federal saying another. It was very confusing. It really was. It was going back and forth, back and forth. And I am very fortunate that I had that connection. That, and when the governor, you know, jokes at 2 o'clock in the morning, I was texting him. It was true, because we've had emergencies. And you know what, he answered too. He was up to, you can tell, someone said, oh, what's wrong with what's the governor? Is he losing weight? Stress. Look at the mayor. I mean, I worked backwards. I mean, I was eating, so I was gaining weight, but then I started losing weight after the vaccine because of everything else. But no, the fact is that we were on hold for everything. And in the beginning of COVID, when you hear from the governor and you hear from your state representation saying to you, don't spend anything because we don't know where we're going to go because we haven't balanced the budget for 2022. And I'm going like, okay, because we are, we work a year ahead of time. And going, okay, don't spend, don't spend, don't spend. And I even had to ask the school, and people say, oh, it's mandatory you have to by law balance the budget. Well, we were in a state of emergency. So if people want to come into the role of being mayor or city council, they really need to work together to understand we were in a state of emergency. So no rules applied. Okay, no rules applied. There were different rules made up every single day, and anyone else can make them. Every city, we all called state of emergency, so we can do that along with our Board of Health. So no one had one control. It was mutual. And the fact is that no, there were people who still haven't balanced the budgets. They had to ask permission to use their free cash to budget their to balance their budget. So when I said that, and someone said, no, it's law. I don't know where have you been all these years, but there is no law during the state of emergency. People couldn't budget. They couldn't balance their budget. We did. Mm-hmm. And we also asked the school, the administrators, the principals. I know that it's your turn to get the cost of living because it's in their contract, but let's not do anything right now. I really need to use that. You need to use that because we need to get, the ventilation systems. We need to do stuff first to pay it. And then this way we can balance the budget and then we can go on from there. We did that together. And you know what? They all said it's okay. Everyone was working together. Everyone was like a whole, I had restaurants that were down and other ones said, well, I have this if they need to borrow it. I have this. And that happened again last night. Last night, there was a little grocery, let's say a grocery store that lost power. It seems like every time I'm at my niece's birthday party, something happens, but I always get, a call. And I got this
call. You have so many nieces, there's going to have something happen.
I know. And I picked up the call and I said, okay, this is what we could do. And I called everyone you could think of under the sun who had some kind of freezer, whatever. And there's also rules and regulations because I asked, the auction. They said, well, we have raw product that you can't mix unless you go call, Division of Meat Fisheries or you call the stamp. Oh, no. Let's work another place. Let's work it. And we all worked together and then it was fine. She was ready to lose, her frozen product. It was kind of hot. I was going to go ready. Let's make a stew or something out of that. But no, it was saved. It was salvaged because everyone pitched in.
Let me ask you, first of all, I have to mention, Madam Mayor, there are two people that I know of who never sleep. Bruce Tarr is the other one. So there's. Let me ask you, I talked with Mayor Driscoll in Salem a few months ago, and it might have even been Destination Salem and not the mayor, but they were saying some businesses shut down, like a restaurant or two, as in Gloucester, but they also had a few open. And I'm noticing in Gloucester, there were a couple of restaurants that did shut down for one reason or another. But how is the economy overall?
Right now, we're booming. Right now, they've had the best year ever. They really did. See, Destination Gloucester, I think we're done. We don't have to discover Gloucester. I think they discovered it. But I think the reason why is because people, when you couldn't leave the state and you're in the Berkshires, that we were getting calls. Are we going to be allowed in? Yes, you can come in, but are you going to be allowed on the beach? Not today. You can walk on it. We never stopped the beaches, but we had to control it. It was one TikTok that went out that it looked like we were in paradise. We had 70,000 people. Well, we're lucky we have that relationship with the state because yes, we got help, but I got to get my, park rangers. People said, oh, look at the park ranger. Let me tell you something. Those were dedicated workers that, they didn't know what they were going to do either. I need your help. Can you come help? Do you have any extra hands that I can do? They may have been security guards, night guard, whatever. They jumped in. And for people to say, well, what are they going to be a park ranger on the beach for? Excuse me. Just the presence or a person who call 911, anything that we can have extra, especially at Stage 4 Park, was amazing. And we still use them. And we use them this year, just at the quarries alone. Are you kidding me? People were swimming and doing things that, how do you expect to be rescued? And then when they called 911, they lied where they were. And by the time we found them, you put people at risk. So you know what? It's easy to judge someone. It's the same thing when you're watching Wheel of Fortune. It's easy when you don't have the pressure on your shoulders. It's so easy to tell people what to do when you're from your home or judge people. But when you have 30,000 residents on your shoulders and you have a minimal staff, because everyone was working from home except the city and this building and the fire police and harbor master's office, it's very difficult. And then add another 70,000 people, but everyone's telling you what to do and how to do the traffic and how to do, shut this down and do that down. And when you shut it down, you're racist. And how am I racist if I'm shutting my beaches down to residents only? How am I not allowing or this person? And I'll take it, I took it, and I laughed because when I said, well, you know what, I'm sorry, I can do what I want. I am the mayor of the city in a state of emergency. And if you don't, and I said the word baloney and I was the baloney mayor. Well, now I'm a different kind of mayor. What can I say? It's okay. I have some of my colleagues that are not running for office. They're burnt out.
Sure,
They're burnt out.
Sure. Oh, well, I'm sure of that. Public service is a thankless job in many, many ways. Let me ask you a question. First of all, I wish you could get rid of those damn birds on Good Harbor Beach, but that's another story.
That's another story.
You can't do anything about that.
Well, you know what? Yes, we can. If we bring fishing back and people stop saying fishing is dying, because when we had all the boats and we had all the landings, and we had all the factories, they didn't come to shore. Before they even reached shore, they were already with the fish on the boats and everything else. So you know what? We'll bring it back.
I'm not talking about the seagulls. I'm talking about those little piping plover.
I don't want to talk about that. That's why I changed
Thank
the
you.
subject, sir.
I know that's a federal thing, and that's so frustrating.
That was the reason why, but no, in all fairness, they're extinct. That's the reason why I had to shut down Good Harbor Beach.
Sure.
Because we still had the plovers. We had high tide. There's no beach as it is. And then with the plovers, I'm telling you, and COVID, no, I'm telling you, there was no way I could save anything or anyone unless I shut it down completely, even to walk-ons.
Yeah.
It was just until the tide. They got angry, but I'm sorry. I have to protect the plovers and I have to protect the citizens. And how you're going to do that is no more access. It was just for a little bit. I took it. I can take it. I'm a big girl.
Yeah, it was it was frustrating on so many levels, but I know that the residents of Gloucester got to enjoy what good weather we had. The residents did get to enjoy that. Let me ask you now, Madam Mayor, you've been at the wheel, the fisherman's wheel, for a while now, and you've had your sou'westers on and so on. What do you see now in the next iteration after the election? Should you be reelected? What are some of your priorities, maybe one or two priorities of things that you're working on, you haven't quite got done yet, but you're on your way?
Well, I'll tell you something. For 13 years, so it wasn't even started when I was mayor, it was prior that I was starting working with the local group, with the Sonny Robinson and Hershey and Lenny Linquater. There was private wharf owners, shoreside facilities that needed repair. And there was no one loaning monies, and we wanted to have like the fisherman's loan fund. So we wanted it for the wharf owners. We have basically 90% of our wharfs are privately owned, and it's backwards in New Bedford. So they get all this kinds of money, and we have people that, if you're not going to get a loan, you can't fix the infrastructure. We fought and fought and fought. And pre-COVID, we actually it was with Governor Deval. He put something, a line item in, $3 million actually, to be able to do some kind of infrastructures. And the fact is that it was never implemented, was never put in. And we were fighting. We went to the State House again one more time, and it was frustration. And pre-COVID, we were working on that. And then during COVID, I kept telling him, I would send every picture that I had of a flooding, I would send to the governor. Even the one when the Fisherman's Wharf we had on Rogers Street, which we've never had flooded, was going like this with this lobster driving through, and say that you can't get it any fresher like that as a joke. I sent him that video to say, what, this scares me. It's never happened. And it could be the infrastructure, it could be what's going on. I showed him a picture of one of the boats. Actually, I thought it was going to go for lunch at the Gloucester House. That's how close it was, And I'm afraid. I said, you know what? I'm afraid because we're an island and we're seeing things that they said we wouldn't see for another 100 years. And you know what? We're seeing it, and it's getting worse every year. And I need to do something. And we kept pushing and pushing and pushing. And so they kept saying, well, fundings and this, you can't use, taxpayers' money on, private entities. And I'm saying that's baloney. You've done it before. You do it, for private schools. You do it for private organizations. We do that. You can't say you're not worth thought. We gave them examples. And you don't want to hurt the examples because then they'll say, well, maybe that's true. We'll stop giving. So you really tied. And Bruce and I and Ann Margaret, which was the champion on that, really was pushing that forward. And we're still pushing it forward. And we kept, so guess what? I just got a text. I love my text from my governor and everyone else. And Emma would text me. They're putting $100 million in for infrastructure for WAFs. So I said, okay, but what kind of WAFs? I'm not going to yippee until I find out for everyone. Well, then I yippeed. Okay. Then everyone heard me screaming with joy. It's still going to go past and everything else. Just the thought that now we're there. Same thing with affordable housing. You know, I worked with Peter Manassas on the affordable housing years ago. My father, the whole thing. There's always a time and a place. I don't want to lose that time. Now, we have $5.5 billion in the state. I want Gloucester to get their share of every little thing. We fought so hard for these things. And now that there's money, I want it. You know, we did our CSO project and I kept saying, I want a utility bill. Now, I live in West Gloucester. I don't have sewer, but I don't mind because I was one of the folk girls. We swam with the bubbler. We'd like to have our beautiful beaches.
Wait a minute. You got to tell people what the bubbler was.
Okay, so when you saw a fish swimming and it had toilet paper on it, it wasn't because it was playing Halloween games.
You got the idea.
Okay,
That
so
was in
we
the
swam,
harbor,
and
yeah?
I think that's where our complexion comes from. Or when they say you're full of it, well, yeah, we swam in the bubbler. Yeah.
I was lobstering and fell overboard once into that stuff. So yeah.
Okay, so yeah, and you know, us as you know, and the fact is that they didn't have the bacteria rate that they had now and all that. So when they tell us, you know, you have a storm, you can't go swimming because the bacteria is 1%. The people down the port were laughing and we're going like,
Yeah,
yeah, you know. But the fact is that, you know what, there's always a time and a place for things, and it's our time now. We did our CSO project. We didn't put it like a utility bill because I have people on wells don't even have any water, and said, you know what, we worked 2 years for that. Back then it was Councilor Toby, Mayor Toby, and I, and Mike Hale. We worked on that. We got a utility bill and we passed it, but then they switched it again, and I wasn't on there. That's council that I voted no, switched it to a tax bill, which is not fair. And so the fact is stuck on our tax bill, CSO project. I don't want a water treatment, you know, plant that has to be, you know, refurbished. It's all that stuff has been there, but we need a new water treatment, well, a secondary. I don't want it on anyone's bill. I want it. I want it. I want to see as much money I can get. You know, I was talking to Congress Moulton, 20 million here, not good enough, you know. After 30 years of being nice, well, yeah, sometimes you have to be aggressive. And I was aggressive at the State House and said, you know what? This water debate is wrong. We've done this, we've done this, and they finally took it off after 30 years. That's like a relief in itself. Okay, 30 years, that's like a relief in itself. So now we can go forward and work together and actually do things, and we're getting things. We, you know, people say, well, I've raised so much money in 3 months. Well, I've raised over 100 million in 6 years. So you know what? I want more. I'm greedy for what belongs to all of us because it's everyone's taxpayers' money. When it's federal, it goes to the state, it's everyone. Why shouldn't Gloucester get their share? This is my time to pull it in. You know, it's my time to say, no, we've already have the plan. See, I don't have to do studies. We've already been doing it. I don't have to wait for someone to sell my city. I know my city. It's the same thing when I go to the seafood show. May I have a script for you? I don't need it. If I can't tell a person from a foreign country how to clean a bony fish, well, why would he buy the project? I am the mayor. I represent the city. Yes, the governor don't like it when I rip the heads off the fish. This is what you need. This is the DNA. This is this. This is that. That's the whole thing. That's what you're talking about. I love my city and I want what's best for my city. And we have a lot of work still to do. And so everyone will know. Pre-COVID, I was so upset because I'm going like, what do you mean private roads? Because I was the council when that happened and they were not giving us money for private roads. That's baloney. We're the oldest city and you're telling me that, you know, private roads, that's, you know, that's not fair. And there was Jim Destina was saying this too. We're working on it. Pre-COVID, we're working on what can we do? I was telling them like Apple Street, that a lot of our private roads are really used by the public all the time. How can they be private? You have your private roads that, you know, define them, they're private. But some of these private roads really, you know, a beach road, look at Brightside, Apple, some of these roads shouldn't be private, but I can't do anything about it. So I thought, more money coming fed. So I said, what can I do? How can I do it? And so the governor and I, yes, I'm sorry. Yes, we have a text. Yes, you know what? We have a partnership. I worked for that partnership. I earned these partnerships. Now, I'm not telling you just with Senator Tarr and Ann Mai, with Joan Lovely, all of them. I've been in healthcare for over 20 years. I've been at the State House. The Fishermen Wives have bring me to the State House so many times. Remember, some of your senators and representatives been there that long, so they know me. What hat you bringing today, Mayor? And I'll say, well, whatever hat I have. And the fact is that we deserve it as a city. Now they said if I could do a study, and I'm working on a study to see how many roads we have. Now we did that before. We did just like top range that we ourselves were doing. It's about 45 private roads that maybe, and like the money, and this is the exciting thing about it is that with the CSO, with the infrastructure, with everything we do, that we can get money for it. So we can pave them. And I said, well, you know what? I don't care about if you want to make them public, whatever, just let me pave them because it's going to last 20 years. So you know what? Let's pave them. And while we're paved them, let's see if they have any infrastructure underneath. Once they're open, we can fix the infrastructure. So it can be considered infrastructure money. So it's like a win-win for everyone because then we got to repave it, so which is kind of cool. And then the same thing with, you know, with the roads, that's fine. And the infrastructure underneath and the wharfs and we can do that. Well, you know what? Why shouldn't we get our share? I know that people think, oh my God, you got to slow down. Yeah, I can't because you know what? I have to be ahead of the game. I have to already have these boards, have these things, because you know what? If you're not ready and you don't send in your recommendations first, we're going to lose out. I don't have time to really run for office when I have to continue this office because I live here too. And I have to worry about if there's no infrastructure on the waterfront, you're not going to have a fishing industry. And I'm sorry, I don't want Newport, Rhode Island. I like to visit there, but I don't want to live there. I